नमस्कार दोस्तों, वेलकम बैक टू दिस शो कॉल्ड द ऑल्टरनेट व्यू। मैं हूं आपका साथी, आपका होस्ट जेमी ऑल्टर, और हम फिर से बात करने वाले हैं क्रिकेट को लेके। अलग अलग तीन विषय हैं हमारे आज के शो में। जैसे कि आप जानते होंगे, वी ऑफन गेट रियली इनटू डीप मैटर्स व्हेन इट कम्स टू क्रिकेट। महादेव पटेल कह रहे हैं हेलो, पायल गुप्ता सेटिंग हार्ट, थैंक यू थैंक यू। इस शो के बीच आप प्लीज अपने कमेंट्स, अपने लाइक्स, अपने हार्ट्स इमोजीज देते रहिए। बहुत जल्द आज मेरे साथ जुड़ेंगे हमारे आज के दोस्त अमित सिन्हा। अमित सिन्हा is, first of all, he's a cricket enthusiast. I use that term, I don't use it loosely when I say enthusiast, क्योंकि मैं अक्सर इस शो पे ऐसे व्यक्ति को बुलाता हूँ, ऐसे मेहमान को बुलाता हूँ जो मेरे तरह या मुझसे भी पागल क्रिकेट फैन है। और अमित सिन्हा हमारे आज के गेस्ट वो भी बिल्कुल ऐसे कैटेगरी में हैं। He's been a data analyst, he's been a researcher, he has a book coming out in the next month, and on social media and on YouTube he runs a channel called random cricket photos that I love. अगर आपको कभी आपने ये देखा नहीं है, प्लीज गो टू YouTube and check out the random cricket photos podcast. उसमें मैं भी आया था तकरीबन 2 साल पहले, but a lot of lovely people have come on Amit's YouTube show. By the same handle, he runs a Twitter feed where he always with such determination, with such love and passion, he puts out cricket trivia, cricket photos, and some really good photos. तो अमित आज के मेहमान है, हमारे साथ जुड़ने वाले हैं। तब तक मैं आपके कुछ कमेंट्स लेता हूँ। किरा शुक्ला कह रहे हैं गुड इवनिंग किरा टू यू। ममता सिंह पूछ रही है हाउ आर यू, आई एम वेरी फाइन, आप कैसी हैं? Payal Gupta saying, hi, how are you? I am very well. All the more better to be here with you on Glance Live talking about cricket. जैसे कि आप जानते होंगे, अगर आप क्रिकेट के सच्चे प्रेमी हो, कल इंग्लैंड के पूर्व कप्तान ओएन मॉर्गन ने अपना रिटायरमेंट ले लिया है इंटरनेशनल क्रिकेट से। Not surprising news because he has been struggling with form, with injury. We saw that in the recent matches between England and Netherlands, बैक टू बैक मैच में मॉर्गन ने डक बनाया था। तो इस खराब फॉर्म के चलते इट्स बीन अबाउट ऑलमोस्ट 2 years ऑफ इनकंसिस्टेंट फॉर्म। आई थिंक योनी हैज वन इंटरनेशनल 50 टेस्ट क्रिकेट तो काफी साल पहले छोड़ चुके हैं। लेकिन ओएन मॉर्गन का रिटायरमेंट के बाद अब फोकस शिफ्ट होता है कि अगला इंग्लैंड व्हाइट बॉल कप्तान कौन होगा। बिकॉज you know that Ben Stokes took over from Joe Root, and the immediate impact that the Ben Stokes Brendan McCullum जोड़ी has had, वही इंग्लैंड टीम जो 17 मैच नहीं जीत पाई टेस्ट फॉर्मेट में, उन्होंने आके 3-0 से न्यूजीलैंड टीम को पिछाड़ा by scoring quick runs, and I mean very very quick runs. Johnny Bairstow, Ollie Pope, these kind of guys, Jamie Overton, मेरे नाम से जुड़ा उनका नाम जेमी। The approach which Brendan McCullum and Ben Stokes have infused into the test team, ये वही इंथुजियाज्म, यही जोश है जो 6-7 साल पहले ओइन मॉर्गन ने इस इंग्लैंड क्रिकेट टीम, व्हाइट बॉल क्रिकेट टीम में इन्फ्यूज किया था। आपको याद होगा कि 2014 में मॉर्गन वाज गिवन द कैप्टनसी आफ्टर एलिस्टर कुक। 2015 वर्ल्ड कप वाज an all-time low perhaps in the modern era for England cricket, पर उसके बाद जो बदलाव मॉर्गन और उनकी अप्रोच और उनके कोचिंग स्टाफ ने लाया उस टीम में, they then went on to win the 2019 ODI World Cup. And that same Morgan, his run scoring, his leadership, his ability, हम इस पे आज बात करेंगे हमारे मेहमान अमित से। मैं बस चेक कर रहा हूँ कि अमित कहाँ हैं, अगर वो जुड़ पाएंगे तो बढ़िया है। Then we'll keep it going. साथ ही में we'll also talk about the 2-0 T20I series win for Hardik Pandya's Indian team over host Ireland. कल का मैच तो बहुत ही रोमांचक था दोस्तों। आखिरी बॉल तक मैच गया और उमरान मालिक ने आखिरी बॉल पे रन नहीं दिए, और इसी के साथ हार्दिक पांड्या की टीम 2-0 से ये श्रृंखला जीती। हम साथ में जब अमित हमारे साथ जुड़ेंगे, we'll also talk about the one-off. I say one-off, but I actually mean the fifth and final test match between England and India. क्यों ये मैच अब हो रहा है? क्योंकि तकरीबन एक साल पहले, 10 महीने पहले, फिफ्थ एंड फाइनल टेस्ट ओल्ड ट्रैफर्ड में इंग्लैंड के मशहूर ग्राउंड पे पोस्टपोन किया गया था क्योंकि भारतीय क्रिकेट कैंप में कोविड स्केयर था। The series was postponed to an indefinite date. It was then announced earlier this year कि आखिरी टेस्ट मैच जरूर इंग्लैंड में खेला जाएगा alongside these T20s and ODIs, and the focus now shifts on the Indian team. पिछले 2 शो में दोस्तों, अगर आप यहाँ जुड़े हैं तो आपने देखा होगा कि हमने इस टॉपिक पे बहुत बात किया, but now with a new guest as the date nears, we're less than 48 hours away from the start of that fifth and final test match. तो इस पे हम बात करेंगे अमित के साथ। अमित मेरे ख्याल से इनको कुछ तकनीकी प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है ज्वाइन करने के लिए। The tech team is going to sort it out. Any more comments? Pragya Sharma, well played, India. Bilkul. Pragya also saying you are my favorite creator. Thank you so much, Pragya. Rajat Pathak कह रहे हैं hi, how are you? I'm बिल्कुल fine. जैसे मैं लग रहा हूँ, आप लोग कैसे हैं? Very interesting show. Very good. Yes. How are you? Very very good. और इसी के साथ I have got the request from Amit. So without any further ado, let's welcome Amit Sinha on the show. Stay tuned दोस्तों, कहीं जाइए मत. अच्छे व्यूअर्स हमारे साथ आज जुड़े हैं यहाँ पे. Any second now he's joining. I've got the join request. पीछे लैंडलाइन बज रहा है और कुछ घर में है नहीं. नॉर्मली कोई होता है घर में तो इफ यू कैन हियर द लैंडलाइन रिंगिंग डोंट माइंड. ये मेरे बेटे के एक दोस्त हैं, नीचे रहते हैं तीसरे फ्लोर पे. बच्चा जब तक कोई उठाता नहीं है फोन, वो लैंडलाइन पे फोन करते रहेंगे. आई हैव गॉट द रिक्वेस्ट बट आई एम नॉट एबल टू सी हिम. वन सेकंड, आई एम जस्ट स्पीकिंग टू द टीम. I've added Amit. It's not showing up. चलिए चलिए, the technical team will look at it. They'll do their best to get Amit on the show. We had this problem last week. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. तो जैसे कि मैंने कहा दोस्तों, ओवेन मॉर्गन के रिटायरमेंट के बारे में हम आज के शो में बात करेंगे. आपके सवाल आप प्लीज हमें भेजिए. Okay, I've got another request to get Amit in. I have hit accept. Hopefully this time it works and we can get this show going
Hey.
because it's going to be a fun.
Sound check going on, and I think
I
I'm
hear
finally
some
there.
noise. I hear noise. Yes, I
Yes,
hear,
it's
and
me,
here he
Jamie.
is. Amit, how are you? I see you and I
All
hear you
good,
loud and
all
clear. How are you,
good.
my friend?
Monsoon is here.
कहाँ आप कहाँ हो भाई? थोड़ा यहाँ भेजिए जहाँ हम हैं.
मैं मुंबई में हूँ और मुंबई की बारिश तो खास होती ही है, पर जरूर
मैं
भेजूंगा
समझ
जहाँ
गया.
पे मैं इतने सालों से रह रहा था दिल्ली में. So I would definitely want Delhi to enjoy the rains as well.
We would love, if you've lived in Delhi, you know that the concept of monsoon here is pretty much non-existent. मैं पिछले हफ्ते से I was looking at the forecast on my phone. Monday को बारिश, Monday नहीं आया. Tuesday को बारिश, Tuesday गया. अब Wednesday, now it's saying Thursday. So we'll hope that we get some rain. Not the kind of rain that I know very very well from living in Bombay for many years. But Amit, before we get into this discussion, like I said, thank you for your time. I was telling our viewers a bit about what you do. You do a lot of things, but I came to know you through your lovely YouTube channel, the Random Cricket Podcast, where I was very privileged to be one of your first guests. कितना 2 साल हो गया लगभग. How did that idea
Yes.
come about? Because I love your passion for the game through the way you do it. तो थोड़ा हमारे viewers को बताइए उसके बारे में.
Yeah, I think I love photographs in general, or what photographs allow for me is to tell a story. So photographs that way, because video जब होता है तो आपको सब दिख रहा होता है कि क्या हो रहा है. But photograph is a moment that has been frozen in time, and that gives you that cliffhanger which you can use to tell stories. And yeah, that's how my relationship with random cricket photos began, and I sort of decided to tell stories around it, got people like you to tell stories around your favorite cricket photographs. And yeah, I would say that it has gone pretty well, and I'm so happy that we are, after a couple of years we are back on the same screen and again to discuss cricket.
बिल्कुल. Let's get straight into it. Owen Morgan, the news, I think the news broke on Sunday from The Guardian. Very, very soon, Owen Morgan is going to announce his retirement. Not entirely surprising because if you followed him, you know that he's been struggling with form and in injury. There was a county match for Middlesex, which he did not complete the match. Fit in that low key series between England and Netherlands, he got 2 ducks. So the timing was entirely not surprising. But Amit, what was your first reaction when you heard that Morgan has now officially called it quits? Because he's been a fascinating character study.
Yeah, he has been. But my first reaction is that who is going to lead England in the World T20, because it's
Yep,
just a
yep,
few
yep.
months down the line. And is Josh Butler the right man to do it? Because look, Josh Butler has been in terrific form, but in the past also, I've read a number of interviews where he has not seemed very warm to the idea of captaincy. And considering the fact that he has been in such great form, would you like to give him that burden of captaincy, that too in Australia, which is not going to be easy? So that is my question. But again, a great call, I would say. A lot of people make it, they keep stretching their careers when they're because they have, Owen Morgan could have captained England to the World T20 because of the kind of record he has as captain. But I think I have to give it to him for taking the call when he realized that he does not have enough fuel left in his batting anymore. And yeah, just it's the right time for him to uh, go away from the game, and to which he definitely owes a lot, and the game owes a lot to Owen Morgan as well.
Absolutely. It does, Amit, in a sense, it's a very selfless decision because it's come at a point where, like we've just discussed briefly, he's battling personal form, he's battling injuries, he's probably battling doubts in the head. And anyone who's played sport will tell you कि sport में सबसे जो आपके कान के बीच में होता है, it often boils down to that. Not too
Yes.
surprising that literally a few hours after he announced, news came that he was going to hop into the Sky commentary team for the upcoming series. Because I've been following this England team ever since McCullum took over a little bit more closely than I used to. And in one of the matches during the England New Zealand series, he was sitting in the commentary. तो मैंने कहा यार Morgan already commentary कर रहा है. 2 दिन पहले he pulled out of a match. So signs are all there. But beside that, it is a selfless move because, like you said, there are two World Cups in the span of what 15 months. Is South there's going to be a T20
Right.
World Cup, and then a tournament which he's won, and a tournament in which the second time he got to the final, and they would have won had it not been for Carlos Brathwaite's assault on Stokes. So, given all that
Right.
he's done for cricket, there's also a one-day World Cup next year where his team will be defending champions. So I am in no doubt that it's a very selfish decision. But I was looking at the stats. Okay, I'm going to bring it up here. Morgan has the most ODI appearances for England, 225. Most runs for England, 6957. When I see 697 as the most runs for a team, यार क्योंकि हम तो हमारे प्लेयर्स तो 18, 15, 16, इंजमाम उल हक, जय सूर्या. So against these numbers by Asians, I think the only two non-Asians are Ponting at 3 and Callis is somewhere there. This is a pretty revealing stat for a country that pretty much gave birth to one-day cricket. Is that as alarming for you as it was for me?
No, I think I discovered this, trivia much earlier because do you know
Uh,
who did Morgan overtake as the most capped English player?
it'll have to be Collingwood
Paul
or Bell.
Collingwood had 197 ODIs.
Collingwood, huh? Huh.
197 was the maximum, yeah,
Which
until
is nothing.
Morgan just a few years ago overtook him. So just imagine. So that is the, that, and that actually goes on to show what has changed over the years in the sense that, that is the amount of emphasis England paid on ODI cricket. Not a
Correct.
lot of people were interested in it, and the focus was always on winning Ashes. And then happens the 2015 World Cup. Everything changes after that. And also one of the things that I want to point out is that if you look at the captains who have won the 50 over World Cup, only one of them is a player who is very much a white ball cricketer. Owen Morgan does not have a red ball, career to be proud of. He
Correct.
has
Correct.
always been a very much white ball cricketer, and that also reflects how this game is changing. Right now, we are going to see, and we are anyway seeing how we have dedicated captains for different formats of the game. And yeah, so that's what, like as you said, that yeah, even I was a little stunned when I saw that the maximum number of matches that someone has played for England was Paul Collingwood at 197, which is less than 200. Or
197.
200 तो इंडिया के कितने क्रिकेटर्स खेल चुके हैं. So
Wait,
yeah.
it's so common, and then to not get 7,000, I'm not even getting into the Sangakkara and the Ponting and the Tendulkar level. वो तो बहुत है. But I'm saying the guys who have 10,000, वहाँ भी ऐसे नाम है दिलशन, लारा, गेल, गांगुली. मतलब ये तो इनके आसपास
Right.
भी नहीं है. But I mean, आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा था कि that says how much more value they put until not too long ago on winning test
Yeah.
cricket, which in some weird way sums up why until 2019 they did not ever get their hands on that coveted trophy. 1992 was the first World Cup which I actually have some memories of, and there they got to the final. But again, that was a bit of a, मतलब obviously मुझे इतना याद नहीं है, but like you, I've read and
Outlier.
I've watched clips of that thing. It was a bit of a hodgepodge type team. Like Botham was on his last legs. The few players were like not at their prime, and then it came down to basically two balls from Wasim Akram. But itne saal baad, they've never really got close. We'll talk about this 2019 World Cup when we get there. But to rewind, Morgan, मैं यहाँ पे अपने viewers को बताऊंगा, Morgan got the job in 2014 after Cook, after the PCB, sort of lost patience with Cook. And it's like how we say in corporate, you've been there, I've been there. इनका केयर ये था कि भाई वर्ल्ड कप जिता के लाओ, ठीक है. नॉट 15 रियलिस्टिकली, बट कुछ बदलाव हमारे गेम में लाया था. I was there at the 2015 World Cup. It was, you could say it was an all-time low. एक मैच था जहां पे they put up good runs at Wellington's Westpac Stadium, but then Sangakkara and Tharanga scored 100 and they smashed England. और हम सब जो हमारे cynical लोग हैं, हम कह रहे हैं यार ये क्या टीम है उनकी. But barring 3-4 changes, Morgan took the same team. more or less, gotten some guys, and he changed around their white ball cricket. What do you think, Amit, will be his legacy in the next few days and weeks and months as people start to come up with tributes to him? इस बंदे का overall legacy क्या रहेगा?
आई थिंक वही बात आपने जो पॉइंट रेज किया कि कहाँ पर 2015 में क्या हुआ था, एंड ऑयन मॉर्गन हिमसेल्फ टॉक्स अबाउट इट, सो
Yep,
in 2015 World Cup, New Zealand, like the match against New Zealand, is the one which Morgan keeps going back to in his interviews, and he says that's where, like, they it was a day night match, but the lights never had to come on because
correct.
England got bowled out for something 117, and New Zealand chased that down in 12 or 13 overs. And
बिल्कुल.
that's when Morgan realized that, okay, this is the brand of cricket Brendan McCullum plays, and that this is the brand of cricket he is leading his team with. And more importantly, Brendan McCullum and On Morgan have been great friends since their time at the IPL. In fact, when Morgan got married,
Correct.
he was McCullum was the MC, right? So very close friends. And Morgan has on number of occasions gone back to that match, and he said that that's where we realized that this the brand of cricket that we are playing is no more suited to this
Yeah.
era. And McCullum, although he lost the World Cup, he was, in the final, Australia blew them to smithereens. But he laid down the foundation of what was to be England's success. So yeah, I think that's where things changed. Also, again, the way England lost that World Cup, like as you said, that they were nowhere, even a contender. They lost to Bangladesh, they lost to Sri Lanka absolutely convincingly. Australia, New Zealand both defeated them. So
Yep.
that actually resulted in the team management and everyone thinking that there is a need for a major overhaul. And that's where Strauss comes in. Strauss places the faith on Owen Morgan. And very interestingly, I think just at this point we should talk about it because we just have seen a test series between England and New Zealand, right? And a very
बिल्कुल.
interesting test series because बहुत काफी खास रहा in the way the runs were scored and in the way the England chased down. 2015, right after the World Cup, England plays a match against Ireland. After that, they play a five-match series against New Zealand, and that's when
Exactly.
he gets all these people. Jason Roy, particularly, he gets Jason Roy, he gets Johnny Bairstow, and tells them to just go berserk. And New
Absolutely.
Zealand lost that series 3-2. England ended up winning it, and that set the tone for what Owen Morgan achieved as a captain, and that set the tone for what England has achieved in the subsequent years as as a team.
Brilliantly put, and I'm glad you started with that series because I remember watching that series. It came at a time when I think India was not doing too much, but I said I'm going to watch this series to see because that time the British press, which I think हमारे Indians के साथ ये भी बहुत jingoistic होते हैं हमारे British media वाले, they were already talking about how that change perhaps might come to fruition in this series. And I remember it, and I got the impression, Amit, exactly like you're saying, कि Morgan के चलते this might flop, this might backfire. But the sheer ability to almost say in as many words कि भाई हम 400 हर मैच में बनाने की कोशिश करेंगे, and even if we concede for 100, oh, we will blooming go and chase that. And I think that series really set the tone. And yes, he will be remembered for the 19 World Cup, but the numbers which his team put up, especially in one day cricket, in those 4 years,
Yeah.
they were the best for any team. They went overseas, they won. Of course, most of the success was at home, but they pretty much beat every single team. And you said there was a Roy, there was the Hales, the Morgan, these the Bairstows. It is the ability also, and like you said, full credit to Strauss because England cricket इनका setup traditionally थोड़ा rigid रह चुका है. And what you're seeing now, and we'll come to this, the fact that a McCullum has been brought in by Rob Key, the fact that a Rob Key has also been, I think Rob Key, Amit, is a pretty left field selection. The fact that
Yes.
Strauss के उस डिसीजन के बाद ऐसे लेफ्ट फील्ड कॉल्स आ रहे हैं, it just shows how England cricket's stuck up system is finally loosening up to sort of focus on taking risks. And this is what Morgan's overall legacy, to my mind, will be to bring in players. But it's also very tough as someone who's been, in a corporate setup to try and get all your team members to buy into that approach, right? तो आपके मन में ego है, आपके मन में doubts होगा. How much? What does it say about Morgan's steeliness that he was able to perform, regroup the team, but also get these guys to buy into that approach?
Yeah, and I think that's where it helped that he had the backing of Andrew Strauss, that he could change. Look, the team with which England played in the 2015 World Cup was a team of Alistair Cook. Alistair Cook led till the Sri
Correct.
Lanka series, which they lost 5-2, after which Alistair Cook was removed. So once these the Morgan era began, the Gary Vallens, the Ian Bell, all these players
Anderson and
went
Broad.
out of the systems. Exactly, Anderson Broad, which was such a big decision, right? So
Correct,
they
correct.
took those big decisions. They saw these. In fact, Jason Roy, for that matter, is a major example of where Jason Roy did not perform well in that first series at all against New Zealand. But
Yep.
after that, there was a series against Australia where he did very well because he was persisted with. So they saw that, okay, this man plays for the team. Morgan keeps repeating that, when you see Jason Roy, you could see that he's not playing for a 50 that would give him a place in the next match. He's playing just into with the philosophy that the team wants to play. So they got these people, Johnny Bairstow, Ben Stokes for that matter. So I think he empowered the right people, and it's a result of that England saw the kind of success that they did. So great
Yeah.
leadership, definitely great leadership. Got Adil Rashid, right? All these players, they were not thought of because they were. And the problem with English setup all this while was that they would
Yeah.
often select players on the basis of their test form. People who are doing well in test, Gary Balance gets into the ODI side because he has done well in test, which makes no sense, right? So
It does not.
there was a complete demarcation of how England wants to proceed in tests and how they want to proceed in ODIs, and that led to this. And it's a great, great legacy that. And I was talking about the England New Zealand series that happened recently also, because I think just as that 2015 England New Zealand series changed ODI cricket, this one is going to
Yep.
change T20. Oh, sorry, Test cricket as well.
No, it's been a fascinating series to watch, and I just go back to that same thing. Just like you said, Strauss back Morgan. Come what may, you have my faith. The same way Rob Key has been allowed to get in McCullum. I mean, McCullum, hum sab jante hain. You mentioned the 2015 World Cup. This guy, he took New Zealand from 48 all out in his first test as captain to the heights of number one. In his final match, they lost to Australia at Hagley Oval, but he signed off with the fastest test century. So इस बंदे में कुछ
Yeah.
था. But point ये भी अमित कि he never coached a first class team. He'd coach in IPL and he'd coach in the CPL. It's a big risk to get this guy in, and of course, long way to go. But team match में McCullum has teamed up with Stokes so well, and I rightly agree with you. कि इस तीन मैच में the way that England, because not too long ago we were saying कि यार इंग्लैंड को क्या हो रहा है 17 matches without a win. Now we have this lovely test match poised to start on Friday. हमारे host broadcaster कह रहे हैं कि अब होगी पूरी धुलाई. धुलाई किसकी होगी? I'm not too sure because I just go back. I was talking to my guest on the last show on Monday, or third test match में. Amit, they had wrapped up the series fantastically. England were 55 for 6. In any other situation, this would be a recipe for England to be looking on the balcony, with hoodies on and buried faces. Stokes was sitting in the front tier, showered, बाल में gel था. He was sipping milk from a milk carton. मतलब ऐसा कभी देखा है किसी कैप्टन को इतना सिचुएशन में मिल्क कार्टन से दूर पी रहा था? And I said, boss, the way this team has changed, full credit to McCullum. And now it sets up a fascinating fifth test between India and England. But it also underlines what you said about Abhi, this approach which they've been given. We could be seeing a revolution in Test cricket, and I hope it happens because I love Test cricket, as I know you do. But there have been far too many series जब देखने में मजा नहीं आया. I really hope this happens
Right.
exactly what you were saying.
Very true. And also, look, this has happened against the World Test champions. And New Zealand, I mean, they have lost 3-0, but they have not played bad cricket. They have played good
Nope.
cricket. It's just that, England were so far ahead in the entire Test series that they just could not catch up. So that is why this series is so significant. It's not because New Zealand lost to India also, right? In November.
Correct, correct.
But it's the way that England has defeated them. And I think, the attitude change that you're talking about, I think it was always bubbling, but it was just that Joe Root, he is a great batsman, but possibly too timid a man to lead a revolution. Ben Stokes was always that character, and again, we are seeing a 3-0 win, and we are hailing him as one of the best batsmen in the game. But as well as your McCallum, they will not go
Correct.
back on their approach. they will
Correct.
continue playing the game and they will continue winning because they are very dedicated to it.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, look, Morgan is now called time on. ये है हमारे screen पे. This was the man, the only England captain to get his hands on the 50 over World Cup. I mean, that final itself. I mean, चलो वो थोड़ा hand of God हमने देखा था 86 में. यहाँ पे कुछ divine intervention था इस team का. But to come in. Also, I mean, a little bit about him in a sense being an outsider. There was a lovely interview from my friend and colleague Sriram Veera during the 2019 World Cup when he'd gone and spoken to people who had been part of Morgan when he was a 14-year-old kid in Dublin. और उससे पूछा गया था क्लासरूम में कि आपको क्या बनना है बड़ा होके. He said, I want to play cricket for England. Now, an Irish boy, a country जहाँ पे cricket has never been the number one sport, but this Irish kid born into a cricket mad Irish family saying कि इसको England cricket के लिए खेलना है. Forget playing. He leaves this format as arguably their greatest ever white ball player. So I think perhaps the bit of the extra drive he had was coming from a different country. Yes, there's proximity. They all swap players playing county and all. But कहीं ना कहीं इनके अंदर एक extra आग थी कि यार I have more to prove in this system. You think?
Yeah, I think, like, I think our understanding of Morgan in 2022 is a little shaped by how he has become as a batter now. But Morgan
Hmm.
was pretty much the revolutionary when it came to T20 batting. In the late 2000s, he was, he was inventing shots. He comes from the background of curling. They play a lot of curling in Ireland. So
हाँ हाँ हाँ
he
हाँ.
had great hands. And there is this video also that often goes viral on social media where he's reverse sweeping Ravi Rampal for a six. So Morgan always was the kind of person who would shake up things, right? And that's why possibly he did not sit. It did not work out for him in the red ball cricket so well because the setup was too straight jacketed there. But when it came to white ball cricket and he got the power that he sort of wanted, he could do it. And of course, I think another aspect of his leadership is also how he has, the fact that in the World Cup final squad there was Moin Ali, there was Adil Rashid, there was Jofra Archer, all of these very different identities. But what defined them was the brand of cricket that they played. So for
Yeah.
someone who comes from outside and to tell everyone that your identity does not matter, and identity is a big thing in English cricket as we are seeing it unfold in the Yorkshire racism scandal, right? So for
Absolutely. Yeah.
someone to and you hear about how Moin Ali, how Adil Rashid talk of Morgan, and you get to understand how much comfort, how much trust was placed on them by this man, and it's a result of that they could deliver the goods when the needs came up.
Yeah. And also, Amit, it's not surprising that that same Adil Rashid who had turned his back on red ball cricket, now McCullum has managed to coax him back. He's got Moin Ali back. He even mentioned the possibility of him approaching Liam Livingston, a player who's not played for a long time against the red ball, getting these players back in. इसका हाथ है in the man on our screen, Owen Morgan. This also will be part of his legacy, no doubt about that. क्योंकि समय निकल रहा है, let's seg briefly into the series which Morgan's former team Ireland played against India. पहला मैच तो यार थोड़ा चलो हमारी टीम जीत गई, but because of the बारिश के कारण a 12 over match was nothing what I wanted to follow. पर कल का मैच मैंने देखा पूरा रात तक 1 बजे तक. एक तो छोटा ग्राउंड था, फ्लैट ट्रैक था, but I had fun watching it because it came down to the final ball and to see Umran Malik defend that. We can go on about the fact कि यार ये थोड़ा low key series है when you have a test match starting on Friday. But if I could ask you to pick out three positives from this brief two-match series from Indian perspective, what would they be?
Oh, of course, Deepak Huda, the number one name that would be on that list. The way he has played, and look, it's just not this series. Even in the past series, he has taken opportunities, grabbed them with both hands. So
Yep,
with the 100 is just the top of the mark, line there. But his CV is glowing, and he has made a case for himself to be on that flight to Australia. So Deepak Huda, great
absolutely.
positive. Sanju Samson, we finally got to see him score a half century for India.
Yes,
We had been waiting for him, and but yeah, again, have to say that it is not easy to outshine Sanju Samson, but Deepak Huda did it yesterday. So there is definitely a lot of talent, and he has raised his game to that level. We saw that while he was playing for LSG also. But yeah, I won't. I mean, again, flat pitch, not the best of bowlers. Again, the ground was small, but even
Yeah,
then, someone has to make, you know, play all those shots to get to 100, which Deepak Hooda did. So credit to him. Bhuvneshwar Kumar. I am a big fan of Bhuvneshwar Kumar. Every time it seems that his time is over, does not have the pace. What does he bring you to the table? He just impresses you with his skills. And he's still, like, no matter how much cricket has changed over the years, but
yeah.
first over bowled by Bhuvneshwar Kumar, it still gives me that excitement, because that he's going to swing it into the batsman, that he's going to swing it out. So he is that sort of a bowler who creates excitement. And another name who creates excitement is, of course, Umran Malik. We only saw 5 over from him. Not the
Correct.
brightest of debuts, I would say, but I think I like the fact that Hardik Pandya showed faith in him when the required was
Precisely.
17, and he delivered. He delivered, right? So I think these are the moments where a cricketer matures. So maybe this is the point where after this we see a better version of Umran Malik. I won't really get into the debate whether he should be on that flight to Australia or not. But yes, I think we have seen enough potential in him.
बिल्कुल.
And forget about, he's too young right now. We can definitely eke out a place for him in the side, whether it is the T20 World Cup or not. That's another matter.
Absolutely well said. And Rahul Dravid said as much before the South Africa series. Yes, this guy has a certain momentum around him, but we have to be realistic in keeping in mind, what we play. And I think it was a very Rahul Dravid-esque move to play that same 11 across all 5 matches against South Africa. And the moment they went to a different country, Dravid was somewhere else. They said, you know what, let's try Umran Malik. After bowling 1 over in that 12-over shootout, बड़े आराम से they could have said, you know what, don't play the second game, let's give to Arshdeep. But they stuck with that same momentum, and like you said, that final over could have been bowled by Hardik Pandya because flat track, chota ground, दो तीन shot यहाँ लगते, they could have flown for point for six. Umran Malik did the job. Yes, I'm also not so sure when you look at him as compared to someone like a Bishnoi or a Huda, whether, I think he falls behind them when it comes to getting that spot on the flight to Australia. अभी 4-5 महीने हैं, but definitely the kind of pace he has, what he's learned from spending 2.5 months with a bowler like Dale Steyn, I think is only going to serve Indian cricket very, very well. Before we run out of time, बहुत बड़ा टेस्ट मैच शुरू होने वाला है फ्राइडे में. जैसे आईपीएल शुरू हुआ था, मैंने एक दोस्त से पूछा शो पे, मैंने कहा भाई आईपीएल तो चल गया, अगला टेस्ट मैच अपना कब है? आई एम ऑलरेडी मिसिंग इट. स्कोर लाइन इज सेट अप फैंटास्टिकली. एक साल ऑलमोस्ट इज गॉन बाय. कोहलीज फॉर्म हैज गॉटन वर्स. रोहित नहीं है, राहुल नहीं है, अश्विन इज स्टिल रिकवरिंग. Lot of uncertainties about the Indian team. I'll get straight to it. Who do you think should lead on the off chance that Rohit fit नहीं होते हैं?
Seriously, it is very difficult to take a call now. But again, I mean, I think, considering that Rishabh Pant has a permanent place in the side, we might see him lead. But I do not know what
Hmm.
credentials does he have, because T20 cricket and Test cricket are two very different things. But Rishabh Pant has played enough Test cricket. He has performed well, and his performances have come at junctures where it actually was a test of character. So I think it's like, I would not really doubt his ability to lead a side or ability to judge circumstances.
Yeah,
So that
yeah.
on those fronts, I think Rishabh Pant fits the bill. But yeah, still, if we are without Rohit Sharma, who had a tremendous series last year, I think we are, and especially in front of this team, I'm not
This
really looking
team.
forward to it. I think we should end the series at 2-1. Let's look at it. And honestly, to be honest, this one off series, it is giving me the feels of the World Test Championship finals. So I'm not very
I was going
positive
to
about
I
it.
was going to ask you, okay, you're like, how do you feel? Because in a sense, you could say, यार, कोई नहीं, एक ही टेस्ट मैच है. We often struggle in these series, but you're right. This has that vibe of last year. एक ही मैच था. चलो वहां पे तो हमने गलत टीम पिक किया था. I think Virat Kohli and Shastri, they misread the conditions. Keeping in mind the fact that you pick an 11 largely based on overhead conditions and those underfoot. I've asked all the guests who've been on the show this week and last week about this 11. Amit, I feel it's going to replicate what we saw last year. That Ashwin bahar बैठेंगे, and if they go for the spinner, it'll be Jadeja because of the holding role he plays, as well as in what he does with the bat. Do you think it's possible, or now that Kohli कप्तान नहीं है, शायद अश्विन को मौका मिलेगा?
No, I don't think it's a case of Kohli keeping Ashwin out. I think it does come down to the balance of the side. And
Hmm.
as a batter, considering that Ravindra Jadeja just hit 175 last November, and it's
Yep.
very difficult to then, when it is between Jadeja and Ashwin. And again, look, earlier you go to England and you are afraid of what would James Anderson do, what would Stuart Broad do to you. Now you're also afraid of what would Besto, what would Stokes, what would all these people do. So there is that factor. Last year when we won against them, there was no Stokes, right? And it was a very different team. You could,
Correct. Correct.
like, Rory Burns. To have Rory Burns opening the innings means giving the psychological edge to the other team. That is the kind of
They finally moved
body
on. Yeah.
language that you could. Yeah, so it's a very different English team. And I think that's where the number 6, number 7 position as a batter gets very important. And I think he has a good record against England. Ravindra Jadeja in England, versus England, he's always had a good record. So he would get back here as well, in my opinion. And yeah, the only thing that differentiates this encounter from the WTC final is that here India has the opportunity to sort of try and play out a draw, but that will not be possible with a team that makes 360 overs. England is that sort of
बिल्कुल
a
सही.
team. It will, yeah, no, you can't play time against England now, at least the kind of team that it has become. So that draw is pretty much out of equation. So yeah.
I absolutely agree. अभी मैं वही कह रहा हूँ. This team was had to recalibrate and think यार अच्छा अभी क्या हो गया. It's not about obviously when Rohit's not there. You said rightly he was such an influential batsman across the whole of last year. वो नहीं है, वो दिग्गज player है, वो कप्तान है. KL Rahul, who took over from Mayank Agarwal, he's not there, right? Ashwin may or may not fit into the equation. So you have to deal with the combinations on the field, in the dressing room, and also realize कि यार सामने वाली team अब वो टीम नहीं रही. So it's I don't know. I don't want to be too pessimistic, but मुझे थोड़ा वो है. Um, Mayank
Right.
Agarwal, in a sense, a bit of poetic justice if he does open, because it was on these same shores a year ago that he was lined up to play the first Test match. He gets concussed. I think, given the fact that he's been a decent opener overseas, he should come back in. A quick take: should he come back in? And if Pujara does come back, does he occupy that 3 spot, or does he make way, given the fact that the team has put Bihari at number 3 in the last series?
No, I think Pujara coming back would mean he would take up the 3 spot. He's like
3.
95 test matches, and you do not want to tinker with that. But
Yeah,
with Mayank Agarwal, again, honestly, I think his T20 game has affected his test game in the last few years. Although he did score runs against New Zealand, plenty of runs, but when
sure.
it comes to, we saw that even in South Africa. So there is a little doubt in my head whether Mayank Agarwal is the same batter who made 76 in Melbourne in 2018-19, right? I mean, we keep talking about how well he played in Australian conditions and all, but it's like three years have passed, and we have seen on a number of occasions how his the technical adjustment he has made to become a better T20 player somehow have resulted in him becoming a
Yeah.
much weaker test player. So in front of Anderson and Broad, I'm not too sure if I would put Mayank Agarwal there.
So then
I
you
would
go
rather
with.
have Hanuma Vihari open the innings,
That's what I was
maybe.
going to say. Exactly. So we have doubts over Mayank against the new ball, a Mayank which is struggling with his own form. And then you're saying that if Pujara does come back on the basis of seniority, he goes at number 3. Then yes, Vihari. And that's a job which he did when he first played cricket for India and Australia. We have totally run out of time. Amit, thank you. Thank you so much. Absolute pleasure getting your views. Always good talking to you and seeing your enthusiasm. Wish you all the best. I know you have a book coming out. If you want to mention that very briefly, if you're allowed to, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. There is a book on MS Dhoni that I have co-authored with
अरे
Mr.
वाह.
Joy Bhattacharya, and it is coming out next month. So yeah,
Awesome.
going to be a lot of fun. Let's hope that it does well, and yeah, I hope number of my viewers are going to buy that book.
Absolutely. Fantastic news. Thank you to our viewers also. You've been very patient. We've not got to your questions, but I've been seeing all the comments and hearts and likes. Thank you, Amit, once again from all of us here at Gland. Thank you, the viewers. And I will see the rest of you on Friday, same time, in the middle of the first day of the first test, fifth test between England and India. Thank you all. Take care. Amit, bye. Thank you.
Bye, Jamie. Thank you so much.